The Committee of the Whole is called to order. I would now like to call upon the panel for their introduction and for the Sergeant Arms to swear them in. We should have, on virtual, we should have the folks from BBMR, DOA, OFB, and GVB. Sergeant Arms, if you can swear them in, and please, let's see who's there. We got Mr. Lester Carlson, we have Mr. Byrne, we have Governor Carl Gutierrez, we got Mr. Paris. Let me see, and we got also
Morning.
Steve Guerrero from OFB. Okay, and if they'll identify themselves again one more time, so we know who they are before you do the swearing in.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. All those that are going to be sworn in, can you please raise your right hand? And then right after you right before you answer, make sure you state your name and then place your answer, okay? Under penalties of perjury, do you all affirm that any and all information that you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Carl Gutierrez, I do.
Jared Paris, I do.
Josephine Villanueva, I do.
3,
Nico Fujikawa, I do.
Edward Byrne, I do.
5.
Lester Carlson, I do.
Okay, Mr. Chair, they're all under oath.
Thank you, Sergeant Arms. I'd like to first state specifically the rules of the Committee of the Whole. We will have 2 rounds of questions for the panel, with each senator allotted 5 minutes for questions, not including responses. At the completion of the 2 rounds of questions, panelists will be excused until called upon for the next bill for discussion. Amendments to the bill will be discussed after the 2 rounds of questions. Amendments must be submitted in writing to the clerk via email. Amendments not in writing will be called out of order. After we complete the amendments on the bill, the next bill will be introduced by the sponsor and the panelists will rejoin the Committee of the Whole. We will continue this process until all bills are discussed. Then we will rise from the Committee of the Whole, at which time I will report out all the bills that were discussed in the Committee of the Whole. We will now begin with Bill 353-35 COR as introduced by Senator Therese Terlai. Ma'am, if you may proceed now with your opening and whatever you wanted to bring up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I would move to accept Bill number 353-35 COR as amended by the Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriations, and Housing, and further substituted on the floor. It's an act to authorize the Guam Visitors Bureau to expend all funds available in the Guam Visitors Bureau Rainy Day Fund through the end of fiscal year 2021. The substitute version has been uploaded onto our Google Drive for all senators. The substitute version makes stylistic changes recommended by legal and also clarifies, it specifies the GVB Rainy Day Fund as opposed to any other rainy day fund, and it also changes the period of time for use of the funds since we are now in fiscal year 2021, and that was introduced during fiscal year 2020.
On the motion to accept, are there any objection? Senator Lee?
Susan Masi, Mr. Chair, and good morning, colleagues. I just wanted to clarify where in the Google Drive the sub-bill is. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page because there's several versions of this bill, so I just want to make sure that we're all looking at the same one.
Okay, we just shared this. It's on the shared with me file. Some of you may have to refresh. And it's identified 12, it's...
December 9th, Committee of the Whole?
That's correct. This is in the Committee of the Whole. Yep, and if you click on the Committee of the Whole, you'll find the bills just click on 353. It'll list what it was and what is being presented now.
So the previous version was as amended. What we're discussing now is as substituted, correct?
That's correct,
And
ma'am.
Mr. Chair, if I may, if I can just ask the author of this measure if she could indicate what the changes were in the sub-bill once again? Thank you.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Senator Therese, please.
Sure. So first, there were stylistic changes as recommended by legal. Second, we changed and specified the GVB rainy day fund as opposed to any other rainy day fund in general. And third, we changed the period of time that the bill would affect to fiscal year 2021 as opposed to fiscal year 2020 when the bill was introduced.
All right, thank you. On the motion to accept, are there any objection? There being none, motion accepted. Senator Therese, if you can please go ahead and continue on with your introduction of your bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So in the vision of the senators before us, they had established a rainy day fund for GVB to be used when tourism industry was impacted by certain conditions. It allowed GVB to access on its own 50% of the fund by resolution of the board. The statute requires that in order to access the first 50%, that they list or they cite the activities which could be used to support unforeseen or unanticipated challenges resulting from either a natural or man-made disaster that has occurred on Guam, or from external economic conditions that have severely affected Guam's ability to attract visitors per Title 12, Guam Code Annotated Chapter 9, Article 3. That 50% represents about $1.227958 million according to BBMR. The statute also provides that if activities to be undertaken require funding greater than 50%, then they would apply to the legislature for the remaining amount, which is what Bill 353 proposes to do. We are all well aware that the tourism industry has seen a sharp decline since the island was ordered to shelter in place since March 16 in order to prevent the spread of the virus. The COVID-19 pandemic crippled numerous private sector businesses, left many employees furloughed or unemployed, and severely impacted our hospitality industry, which accounts for a third of our economy. GVB has testified that we've seen over an 85% drop in visitor arrivals. That was early on, maybe this is not even updated, and has repeatedly stated that it doesn't look like we are going to have a immediate recovery. It will be a long crawl due to a new paradigm in the way the tourism industry sales and distribution is being managed and the way host destinations are able to receive visitors. So GVB Board resolved via Resolution 2020-002 to support pandemic recovery efforts, to rebuild air seat capacity, support travel agents and local tourism-related businesses. So BBMR issued a fiscal note which states that GVB has an unrestricted cash balance of $13.9 million as of the FY19 audit. However, since then, the FY 2020 audit shows an unrestricted cash balance of $15.8 million. However, GVB has clarified these supposed balances and has requested that this fiscal note be amended. They've testified that these funds previously appropriated were committed or reserved for specific expenditures, such as stormwater management system. For example, clearing the catch basins and different stormwater projects down in Tumon. This work is ongoing and they would like to continue that work. So while a plan for the expenditures of the rainy day fund was made by GVB early on in the pandemic, I requested an update. And maybe about a month ago, trying to get my time period straight, but maybe about a month ago, they did give us an update during the public hearing on the bill, and they testified that they were utilizing $1 million from their operational budget, in addition to the 1.2 from the rainy day, or the first 50% of the rainy day fund. They were launching a subsector support program for optional tours and approximately 300 tour guides, along with social media marketing. Part of the support will be utilized to promote local staycations and viewing different tour sites, which GVB hopes will bring the community along by giving local residents the opportunity to see for themselves what makes people want to come to Guam. to buy into the industry and to become part owner. As GVB continues to develop a screening program in preparation for the reopening of tourism, we have the opportunity to help provide resources to them that doesn't significantly detract from the general fund, as this fund was set up to do just that. So I want to thank the Guam Visitors Bureau for their input and cooperation and the Committee on Appropriations for their support to move this bill forward. And I ask my colleagues to support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Reese. Senator Kelly, we will begin now our first round of questions. Senator Kelly, do you have any questions, ma'am, to pose on to the panel?
Sujuis Masi, Mr. Chair. I'm going to, for this first round, defer my time to the author of the bill, should she have additional questions.
All right. Madam Speaker, do you have any questions to pose to the panel?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Will.
No, Mr. Chairman, no questions.
Thank you. Senator Jim.
No, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Tello, do you have any questions, ma'am? None? Senator Louise. Thank you. Senator Jose Pito.
Mr. Chair, I was just thinking about, you know, the rainy day fund is, we're allowing to expand for 2020. Is there any way that we can also allow for a carryover for these funds?
I would believe that if there would be a need to carry over, GVB will put that request in after they're allowed to expend it. And if they can't expend it all, then they'll ask, more than likely during our budget session, which will start probably in February, March, April next year, to carry over whatever they couldn't expend. And I think that's the time when we want to be able to allow them to carry that over.
Okay.
Thank you. Senator Amanda, do you have nothing? Senator Parrish, do you have any questions, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question is for GVB. So I just wanted clarification regarding the plan that's it's supposed to accompany the request for the approval for the remaining 50% of its own rainy day fund.
Yes. Will you yield to the question for GVB to answer that, please? I think it's either Mr. Parrish or the governor who will speak. If you could just turn on your mic, thank you.
Jerry?
Jerry, Uncle Jerry, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very relevant question. To answer that, let me just put kind of a framework for this discussion and for consideration of the bill. And there are basically two or three themes that envelop the framework for this discussion. A number of months ago, when we went through the budget hearing, the legislature approved a run rate of 400,000 visitors to Guam. And that gives us a run rate of about 33,000 visitors per month. Since that time, things have not gotten better. And in actual fact, our current run rate was not the 33,000 per month, but barely 2,250 per month. So this drastic reduction in funding has compelled us basically to do a round of very serious austerity measures, protecting as much as we can destination management, because that's very important to maintaining our product, but also cutting back on a lot of our expenditures for marketing and a lot of our expenditures on other issues. An example for that recently is cancellation of the fireworks, cancellation of the lighting down in Tumon Bay, among others. So that's all part of the austerity measures. But what we really need to do is position ourselves, because we believe that by late second quarter and aggressively the third and fourth quarters of the fiscal year, we will need every cent we have plus more to really rekindle and ramp up our marketing, because we're going to be competing with other destinations who are also going to be opening up about that time. So without being very specific, Senator, I can just tell you that the bulk of that money will go toward restarting our marketing in our source markets, principally at first through social media, but more actively spend it tactically with the travel distribution players in the market.
Did that satisfy you?
Yes, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the response, Mr. Perez.
You're welcome.
I'll reserve my questions for the next
By the way,
round.
Mr. Chairman,
All right.
and I failed to mention this earlier, but Governor Carl and I have a previously scheduled meeting with the governor at 11. So we have also attending with us Josie Villanueva, our financial person, and Nico, who's familiar with the hot bond issue. So if we have to check out early, please excuse us. But these two folks would remain to discuss any other issues on those two bills.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pierce. Nothing further, right, Senator Pierce? All right, Senator Torres, ma'am.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Perez discussed a lot of what I was going to talk about or ask about, because as I understand the Visitors Bureau, it is one of those types of agencies where if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And so the importance of keeping a plan to stay in the market, to stay present in the market and visible is very important. And so I would support availing of rainy day funds to make sure that the marketing plan can be contemplated and triggered, ramped up, as Mr. Perez said, when it is appropriate and timely to begin the marketing efforts. But I just want to ask, are we then saying that the funds are not going to be used for operational within the Visitors Bureau, but it is targeted towards the recoupment of visitors to Guam? Is that a fair statement, or Governor Gutierrez?
Absolutely. The board has passed a recommendation that all positions that vacate, we don't hire. There's no hiring anymore in the GDB until such time that we get our feet on the ground. So this is not for any more operational stuff in the GDB.
Thank you. And I just want to say that you have our support. I don't think we have two more competent people to bring us out of this recession in our tourism industry than the two of you gentlemen there at the helm. So Sizuas Maasi, and you certainly have my support.
Thank you,
Thank you, Senator Torres.
Thank you, Senator
Thank you very much,
Torres.
Senator. Appreciate that.
Senator Lee, do you have any questions to the panel?
Buenas and half a day to our panel members. Thank you very much for joining us. And I want to thank the retiring speaker for mentioning some of the things that we wanted to be sure we discussed. And thank you, Governor Gutierrez, and to Mr. Perez for also trying to reiterate what the use of this money will go towards. And the proffer of this measure had mentioned a board resolution from GVB. And so I was just looking through the committee report to try to find reference or to be able to read that resolution, and I don't believe it's in the committee report. So I just wanted to ask the members of the panel if they could send that to senators so we can have an opportunity to review it. And if it's any different from the presentation that is currently in the committee report that details, all the different marketing efforts that will continue. So I just wanted to ask if maybe Governor Gutierrez, if you could send us a copy of that board resolution.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Sizuas Maasi. And then, Mr. Chair, I do have one other question. I wanted to know if any of this money will be spent on, I understand with the marketing plan in place, we often employ firms that are off-island, but perhaps if at this time we can commit to keep this money circulating locally if possible, if there's a reason that we are not able to do that, I can understand, but I want to ensure that if we're going to give GVB access to this rainy day fund money, that we attempt to use any local vendors, any local firms first, before going outside of, and it just help to keep that money circulating locally. So if I could get maybe a response from GVB representatives that they will make every attempt to try to use this money locally and make that a priority before going to any other outside off-island firms.
We have, of course, that's our goal all the time, but with our marketing efforts, it's not only the source markets in Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, but worldwide. And some of these things require outside expertise to be able to give the best for our money, the biggest bang for the buck. And but please know that I feel the same way as you do, and I'm sure Jerry as well, that as much as possible, we deal with and give it to our local vendors that could be done here. And I made that, and I'm insistent about that, except only when it's necessary that what has to be done requires the better contacts out in the world.
Yeah, if I can also clarify, Senator Regine, when we issue out like a RFP for a marketing assignment in our international markets, it is never closed to local companies. In fact, in the past, I remember some local companies aligning themselves with off-island resources to give heft to their proposal. So local companies are never excluded from our RFP process. I just needed to share that with you. So at least give comfort that local companies are given a fair shot. But at the end of the day, quite frankly, we owe our people of Guam the best possible effort from the best qualified person or firm, and that's our goal.
Suzus Masi, to you both for the responses, and thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Senator Clint, do you have any questions? No questions. Senator Therese, do you have any questions to the panel?
Thank you. Yes, I just want to put a couple of things on the record, and I want to thank the Governor Gutierrez and, of course, the Vice CEO Jerry Perez for being here, and the other members of GVB staff. Thank you. Yes, so just to remind everyone that, so in FY20, GVB was appropriated $22.49 million. And in FY21, they were only appropriated $6.389 million, and that was based, as Mr. Perez says, on a visitor estimation of 400,000. And now they're reporting to us, at least at this point, that we're not even making that estimate at this time. So, I mean, yeah, things have definitely even gotten worse, I think, than we predicted. So this decrease in appropriations is one matter. And then I want to just ask, for FY20, the CRER in September 2020 showed a shortfall of $16 million in the TAF. So I just wanted to confirm with GVB if they received their full allotment or their full appropriation for fiscal year 2020.
Josie?
Yeah, I was going to ask for the detail from Josie. Could you just, I know that we haven't, but I just want Josie to be more specific on that.
Yes.
So we only receive, the total appropriation is 22,490,650. That includes the pass-through, which is 640,000. And we only receive 15,430,306, which represents 69% of the total budgeted. So we are short by 7 million, basically, for the whole FY 2020 budget.
All right, thank you. And for FY21, have you received according to the budget, the monthly allotments that you should have received?
For
yes,
October?
for October.
For October. For the first month, you did receive the full allotment. Okay. And I guess I just wanted to confirm with BBMR then, how did, so we see GVB was not given the full appropriation in 2020, and I wanted to just confirm how the rest of the 16 million shortfall in TAF was handled.
Good morning, Senator. Good
morning.
morning, everybody. I think that's more of a DOA question.
Oh.
The allotments are actually addressed and taken care of by DOA.
Senator, if I can address the matter.
Yes. Thank you.
When the pandemic hit, GVB's allotment that was released by BBMR was reduced at the time, and I believe it was cut in half from March or April, whenever the cutoff took place. After that time, as GVB is confirmed, we paid the whole amount that was due under the revised allotment, and we're continuing to pay the new budgeted allotment for 2021. Obviously, the cash for this comes from the hotel occupancy taxes, and we have been able to pay these amounts up to date. There was one month, and I believe it was August, when the general fund had to subsidize the payment but it was about $80,000. It fortunately wasn't very much.
Thank you very much. All right,
And if I might add, Senator, that speaks to the first theme that I laid out early on about framing the discussion on this, is that we went from a run rate of 3,300 monthly arrivals to barely 2,500. And so the impact to the TAF income, while appropriations might be allocated, may not be totally supported by cash income from TAF.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. I'm trying to just reemphasize that as well. So I agree. So in addition to the tremendous shortfall in FY20 and the 15 million cut to GVB, I guess, we are also looking at a potential shortfall in FY21, depending on how we do in the second quarter or third quarter, as you discussed. All right, and then
Yes.
So I want to commend GVB. I know you're trying to do what is really a daunting task, and try to predict things that are sometimes unpredictable and shifting every single day. But I do want to commend you for promptly cutting expenses, cutting some of your marketing as needed, just cutting. Unfortunately, the Christmas display and the fireworks, it would lift our morale, but I think it's a good decision on your part, and good showing that you're willing to cut, because we know the importance of the marketing that you're going to have to do in the upcoming quarters, and of course of our reopening plan if that requires testing or whatever else it's going to require. So I just want to commend you for those things and for continuing to improve Tumon. I think I hope you don't go back on that, because we've talked about that a lot, but I really believe that the flooding in Tumon is a priority. It hasn't been resolved in years and years. It has to be resolved as best we can do. I'm looking forward to the improvements at Matapang, where you said the flooding basin or whatever was created before has been crushed and needs to be completely redone. So I'm hoping that will be redone, because this is a safety issue as well, I think, all these flooding issues. So, and I want to also thank you for continuing the VSO program, or at least the safety programs, and I hope that you can find enough in your operations to continue those as well, because safety at our parks and our destinations are equally important. So thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Therese.
Senator Therese?
Yes.
May I?
Yes, please.
Address something that Senator Therese brought up.
Sure.
because we don't know whether we'll come to you for a minor tweaking, but we have been working very closely with the Guam Fire Department and GPD in trying to, because the $18 million EDA grant that we're asking for the entire Matapan rebuild up is moving along, but very slowly. But in the meantime, we want to bring the Guam Fire Department down there and have a launching place, but actually be a fire station in that particular area. And so we're going to be putting up something there shortly, and we may need a little bit of funds to, it's not much, but it is going to be able to save lives and be able to be present down there as a fire station and, launch out there in less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes, than waiting 20 minutes from Dedido. So with that, I just want to let you know that we don't want to surprise you.
Thank you very much, Governor. All right, we look forward to all the improvements that we can make down in Tumon and across the island. And so I also want to point out that, GVB, when their budget was good, and last year they were trending for record-breaking visitors again. And so I want to commend them for that. And that they had dedicated resources at that time to Hagatnya and other high-density tourist attraction for visitor safety. So I want to commend them and improvements.
Thank you, Senator Therese. We will now begin our second round. Senator Kelly, do you have any questions, ma'am? Your second round.
Masi, Mr. Chair. Yes, much of what I was interested in hearing has been discussed, so I'll do the same and defer to the author of the bill.
All right, thank you. Madam Speaker, do you have any questions you want to pose?
Masi, Mr. Chairman, and to the folks on Zoom this morning, thank you very much for appearing. I did want to ask the questions as it relates to the reopening. I know that in Mr. Perez's presentation letter in support of this bill, he talked about how globally destinations are beginning to implement some of their recovery efforts by creating travel bubbles and conducting testing with countries with low positive rates. My question to him or to GVB is, have they been working with the Guam International Airport Authority as it relates to the testing component plan? And as you know, that we are very hopeful that we will be getting the vaccine in and our frontliners will be taken care of. But has there been discussions in reference and included into that plan that would foresee visitors feeling safe, that if they get tested in their area negative and they come here and get tested, will they be tested here? And has that MOU or MOA being discussed at this present time?
Let me say, Madam Speaker, that yes, we've been working very closely with the Guam International Airport Authority. And besides that, the governor has reached out and we've had a nice meeting with the mayor of Taiwan in Taiwan, the mayor where the airport is, and that we're working different scenarios because Taiwan particularly wants to start having their people travel. And Guam is 3.5 hours, 3 hours and 20 minutes away. And we're looking at flight bubbles as well as what the airport is proposing. JQ Kanata has been working on that very, very intently. And now we're going to also have another conference with the mayor of Taichung. And that will also, they want to be able not only to add a third airlines coming out, Starlux, which is already applied for Guam. That would give us 3. But the government of Taiwan wants to be able to travel first, since they're the lowest. I think there's only 5 or 7 deaths there out of 23 million people. But yes, rest assured that we're trying to take advantage of our position in relation to where they're at 3 hours away. Korea and Japan, it's very difficult, but we're working very closely with the airport. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Governor, for that. That really brings music to my ears, and I do want to say that you and I know that Taiwan never really closed, and because they kept a lot of the mandates in place, and even with their COVID alert app, and that really helped them facilitate that. The second question I wanted to work with is that, is the Bureau receiving any COVID-related resources from the administration or anywhere else as it relates to facilitating this opening with more testing, with the vaccine, or with any other thing that would help bring tourists into our area, even with our high numbers, that Guam will still be a safe destination to work with? So have you gotten any resources from whether it be the administration, federal grants, or anything?
If I can answer that, Madam Speaker. We're getting whatever we qualify to get for reimbursement in some of those COVID-related expenses. We are actually, one of the reasons why we have to leave early for a meeting with the governor is we're discussing the possibility of intensifying the testing, and not just for tourists, but for the local community. And so we are working out a possibility of having a test site down here near Tumon. And while we cannot really discuss details at this point because it's still evolving, which is the reason why we need to talk to the governor in a couple of minutes. The answer to your question is we hope so.
Let me say also, let me add to that, Madam Speaker, that the governor, even in her interview on the radio this morning, is that there's a very big possibility that revenue losses can be, used from the CARES Act or whatever other programs they have. They have requested from GVB our losses. And hopefully that new program will come out and that they will be getting some funds from this federal pandemic monies.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for that. I truly appreciate the response, because we've got to make sure that even if the Bureau is asking for the utilization of this rainy day fund, that we don't stop looking and making sure that we turn every stone, leave no stone unturned to recover any resources we can as it relates, because the whole island and the whole world is going through this global pandemic. I think if we can capture any resource from anywhere, that GVB should be included. And I want to say thank you for your answer and not giving up, because this is really important and we need to open up our island. I know that there's been a request from a lot of the residents saying that Guam is ready, but we still need to take precaution. But if we can learn from the successes of folks like our neighboring island country of Taiwan, who's only 3 hours and 20 minutes away, and really want to come here and really want to expound on their medical tourism to and from, because of the sister city relationships that we have, I think that we can bring folks in here safely and then reciprocate back to the Taiwanese residents. So I want to say thank you, Mr. Chair. I truly appreciate it, and I am in full support of helping the Bureau and supporting this effort. And thank the author for putting this bill on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senator Will, do you have any questions? Second round. No questions. Senator Jim? No questions? Senator Tello, do you have any questions for the second round?
Sujus Masay, Mr. Chair, and good morning to my colleagues. And thank you to the panel that is here this morning. So my question would be, a lot of them are already answered, and appreciate responding to them. One of my questions actually is, with this rainy day fund, is there any intentions at all to use any of this funding for salaries in the event that you don't receive your appropriations? That was brought up earlier, that you're not, I mean, not appropriations, I'm sorry, your allotments that are not coming in a timely manner. So are you using any, President Gutierrez or Jerry, either or?
Well, I can say that that when we get to that point, what we're representing here now is that we're not, and that if things get worse, then we'll just have to deal with whatever necessary furloughs, et cetera, to be able to cut down expenditures in personnel. That's just the way we face it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, as well as, so do you have an austere plan in place in that event? Because we're, it's obvious we're getting glimpses of what's happening right now and currently. So do you have an austere plan already in place as well?
Jerry?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we have taken measures proactively so that that will not happen. But in the event that should happen, we obviously, and if it affects employees, we'll have to default to the, to the GovGuam process of bumping, if that's, if it's come to that. But we're doing everything we can to make sure that that, doesn't take place.
Thank you. And
But
thank
this
you.
rainy day fund is not going to be used for payroll, if that was your question.
Yes, it was. Thank you for answering that. So I greatly appreciate, again, for you being here, and happy holidays to the GVB family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator
Mr.
Luis, do you have any questions?
San Augustine, sir?
Yes,
Senator?
sir.
May Jerry and I be excused? I was just getting word the governor's waiting for us on the next meeting.
Yes, because you got Josie there. Josie should be able to answer any financial questions we may be asking. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mr. Paris.
And also, Nico is conversant with Hot Bond Project with Gita.
Okay, well, you got two, Nico and Josie's there, so we're good. Thank you. And Merry Christmas.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Senator Luis, do you have any questions to the panel? None? Senator Jose Pito, nothing? Senator Amanda? Nothing? Senator Paris, do you have any questions, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for former Governor Gutierrez or Jerry Perez. Just a question about diversification. Are there plans to diversify the source markets?
Senator Paris, please be reminded that we just excused the two because they got a meeting with the governor. We got Josie and Nico there.
Okay,
so
thank you.
If they could answer that question, please.
Sure. Thank you, Senator. I can answer. Right now, our focus, because of the limited resources, are Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. Because of the volume that they bring in, each of those markets represents something different for Guam. So in terms of diversification, looking into sub-segments within those markets, yes, our marketing team is looking into that already. But our focus is to commit to the top 3 Asian markets that we've been catering to at this point.
All right, thank you for that response. So I know Olympics is coming up in 2021. How much of the efforts are to, target that sub-segment?
So initially, what we were planning on doing as the market was moving pre-COVID was to advertise Guam as a stopover point for any of the athletes or teams that were going to be participating in the Olympics. So if the opportunity still is there, we are looking at advertising that. But we also understand and acknowledge that Japan, because it is hosting the Olympics, they're more focused on that event as opposed to international travel. So we are trying to work around certain ways to approach this, but that's still on the table. We have to remain flexible. But initially, we were looking at using Guam as a stopover point for those traveling to Japan.
All right, thank you, Nico. So I'm just looking at the fiscal note that was provided for this bill, and it mentioned that there was unrestricted funds. Can you update us on what the amount of that is?
For the unrestricted funds, I know that the most recent audit for FY19 shows about 15 million. However, there are restrictions on that and encumbrances. And if we are to push the numbers, which I've shared with the Office of Senator Terlahi today after discussing with Governor Carl and Dr. Perez. We are at a negative 104,000 if there will be a change on the TAF that will be anticipated for this fiscal year 2021. So basically, yes, there is funds. However, those are all committed, and one of the major projects there is all this destination that we need to upkeep to prepare us for reopening.
Thank you for that response. So yes, in the fiscal note, it's mentioned that there were 10 million that was committed. Are there non-committed funds from the unrestricted funds? Is there amount?
It's a board committed funds basically that we have the details, Senator. Mhm.
Okay.
It's basically temporarily restricted for a specific purpose that our GBB board had designated, which is important for the market recovery.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator Torres, do you have any questions, ma'am? None. Senator Lee, any questions? None. Senator Clinton, do you have any questions, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Could GVB clarify their revised recovery spending plan and sort of what are the amounts that they're looking at budgeting from the rainy day fund and how much from the FY21 budget?
The market recovery was initially put out there as total of 2.2 million. And that 2.2 million is that we take out the 1 million from the Ipaw and Matapang Beach capital projects that we are looking. And then in addition to that, we have the 50% rainy day fund, which is $623,000 that was approved by the board. And we also have carryover that the board had appropriated of 1.2 million from the FY20 budget. So we have a total of 2.8 million. But basically, like what Dr. Perez was discussing to us this morning, it's hard to predict of how much would be needed when the market reopens. And what it is important is we have the funds within us to be able to be flexible to dispose it at the time when it's needed.
Okay, thank you. So the total, you said 2.8 million?
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
that's how much from FY20 again? You said 1.2 million or something from FY20?
Yes, yes,
And then-
1.2 million.
And then how much is FY21?
For FY21, we have not allocated anything because as I ran down our GPB cash forecast, considering a worst case scenario and being conservative, we might have to use some of the excess funding to support the FY 2021 operating expenses. But we are not there. We're not there yet. We are closely monitoring because right now, as we speak, the encumbrances or the contract that are fixed are already at $2 million. So basically, we have to maintain our market representation overseas, especially for the three major markets, and we have monthly market representation out there.
Okay, and what was the amount again from the rainy day fund?
$623,363.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Clinton. Senator Therese, you're the final one for questions.
I don't have any questions. I'm ready
You
to
have no
close
questions
my-
at this time? Well then, I would like to thank the panel. You are now excused. The folks from GVB, the other folks from BBMR, OFB, and DOA. You'll be excused until the next bill is called upon. We'll now move to
Well,
Senator
can I just
Therese.
close on the bill? Yes.
Yes, I was going to ask you to close the bill.
Thank you.
Please.
Very briefly, just want to point out, so again, GVB's budget for FY21 is 6.3 million compared to 22 million in FY20, right? And they're afraid that might be even over-optimistic based on the TAF, okay? Based on visitor projections at this point. However, we're still hoping. But if we add the 50%, this bill gives 50% from the existing rainy day fund, it looks like it's only going to be at the most 1.2 million. And that really only brings their total appropriation up at that point to about 7 million, or 7.5 million. Still quite alarming compared to, what we are used to spending for our markets. And so they're going to really have to struggle, I think, to get a presence, or Guam's, to be part of that market and the reopening of the global economy. So I want to thank again my colleagues for their questions and their concerns, and commend the Bureau for their working hard in this regard. They've actually, and I wanted to also just point out that I thought, as a government agency, they use their resources for the benefit of all of us. They shifted some of their marketing skills over to helping public health to market that COVID app. They helped to, make sure all that their businesses in this industry, together with GHRA, who has also done tremendous work in this regard, the Hotel Restaurant Association, they've, used their resources to really assist the businesses for reopening plans and to make sure that they are operating safely for all of our benefits. So I want to thank them for that, and then ask my colleagues humbly to support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I move that the Committee of the Whole recommend to place Bill 353 as substituted on the floor in the third reading voting file.
On that motion to place on the third reading file, are there any objection? There being none, motion carries. My colleagues, it's 11:13. We will continue on. We will proceed to now to Bill 400-400-35. And I remind I'd ask first let's just take a quick recess. I want to confirm that we have public health and everybody else ready online. All right, quick recess.
Like,
The committee of the whole has just returned from its short recess. We finally got public health, got in contact with public health. Being that it's 11:30, my colleagues, we will recess until 2 o'clock. Public health has been informed to make sure that they are in fact on or ready to go on Bill 400. Thank you. We are now recessed till 2 o'clock.
Hi,